You know, Justin Trudeau's front bench has all disparaged Trump in personal snipes. Trudeau himself, Jolie, Chrystia Freeland, I think they've all sort of burnt the bridges. They never thought Trump would be reelected, so they let their mouths yap a little bit.
Well, 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 Donald Trump has officially done more for Canada in just 3 weeks, and he's not even officially in office yet, than Justin Trudeau has in about 9 years, I would say. And he's also, Donald Trump that is, finally responded after a meeting, a very last-minute meeting to Mar-a-Lago that Justin Trudeau and Dominic LeBlanc went on just last night.
Prime Minister, what did you and Mr. Trump talk about at dinner? Prime Minister?
I'm Jasmine Lane, and you're watching Over Opinionated. Now, I don't like to be right. I don't do any of this to be right, but it also feels really good to be right. And if you're like me and you're tired of people telling you that you're wrong, and then you turn out to be very right, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment your thoughts down below. We have a number of reactions to get through today, as well as some digging that was done to show just how serious the issue between Canada and the US, specifically our border security and trafficking, that the Canadian government has surely been avoiding, not paying attention to, or just outright lying about because they know that they can't control it.
What I've seen in Ontario are that, again, the photo ops and the virtue signaling have a real impact in Toronto. In Mayor Chow, Mayor Brown, when 70% of our shelters are occupied by asylum seekers, when this federal government cuts the labour market transfer agreement, I don't know which Randy's going to show up at the table, but when they cut that labour market transfer agreement, that has a real impact on settlement agencies. It has a real impact on people like Natasha behind you who fund asylum seekers and try and give them a skill set. You know, putting people in a hotel and saying that that's the best Canada has to offer, they are creating a dependency on the state, not giving people skills and life skills to succeed. So what do I want to see? Yeah, I want to see them restore integrity to our system. I want to see them have a visa process that actually withstands some basic scrutiny. Hearing we've got 66,000 from one country in 1 month, you do the math, 5 business days. This is what I want to see from this government. Actually take an active interest in these individuals you are affecting. Regardless, again, numbers, that's up to them to figure out their levels plan. But it is having a tangible impact on human beings, and that's lost on this Prime Minister.
I do want to quickly point out the amount of Liberal Party diehards, like the loyalist to the party, no matter what it is that they do. You know, they claim they're so educated, that they have all the numbers, but there's no way that they possibly can, because if they did, there's no way that they could keep supporting the policies in place. And the amount of them who have responded to my videos on this matter on both YouTube and also TikTok has just been laughably insane, truly. People saying, oh, well, isn't the border America's problem? And it's like, yeah, if you're looking at it from a really black and white, uneducated view, sure, that's definitely just America's problem. But do you not realize the amount of people coming in from Canada who are unvetted, some of them here legally, who came here legally with malintent? They lied on their applications because their only goal was actually to go to the US and claim asylum. So they get a Canadian visa and they backlog our system, which is just immoral in and of itself, only to then immediately go and cross into the US border. And the large number of those people who are on terrorist watch lists, the fact that they were even granted visas in Canada is just astounding. But also, it's been pretty clear that the Canadian system is lacking immensely. It's one of the things that happens when you overinflate a bureaucracy and you don't actually have boots on the ground, when you cut funding because you're putting new funding into other things that don't actually matter. But again, you don't actually have boots on the ground to control and vet these things. That's why we see the insanity that has ensued on Canadian streets, people protesting issues from other countries that don't involve us whatsoever. Because those people clearly came to Canada and they didn't actually have any intent on being Canadians. They came here because it was easy and they could, but their real goal is to destroy the West or plot terror attacks like we have seen in Canada as well, several of which have been folded not due to our own intelligence, but due to the intelligence of other nations who sent a warning to us because, again, those people were on their watch lists. And somehow they got into Canada because they weren't on ours. Like, there is a massive, massive problem with immigration in this country, and not saying that, oh yeah, well, we shouldn't accept any immigrants. No, you can accept whoever the hell you want. Make sure you know who you're bringing in, though. It's not rocket science here.
But he doesn't care about helping Canadians. He just wants them to suffer more, so maybe he has a chance.
Mr. Speaker, he's lost control of our borders. He's lost control of immigration. He's lost control of spending. That's right. And with that erratic performance, we now see that he's lost control of himself. No wonder foreign leaders believe they can walk all over him. They see him as a weak, incompetent leader who does not even have the support of his own party. Yes. Why won't he put the country first for a change?
But the Trudeau Liberal government has been so keen on vote buying and virtue signaling and increasing more immigrants into the country to try to make it appear as though we are not currently in a recession, to be able to lie about the statistics of the well-being of Canada per capita, when in reality, what is really truly happening is a very, very different story, such as some of these numbers that the Liberal government has been trying to pretend like they don't exist. In fact, recently, U.S. Customs and Border Protection revealed some data that over 1,200 terror suspects have attempted to cross from Canada into the U.S. in the last 4 years. In 2023 alone, the number surged 54% to 484%, which is 6 times higher than the crossings at the southern border. Think about that. This is a problem. And keep in mind that those people, over 1,200 of them, are in our country because they were not properly taken care of and looked into by our immigration officials. So yes, Donald Trump's threat of tariffs has helped us big time, because maybe now we might actually start paying attention to these numbers. Why is it that Canada has become a safe haven for criminals? Why is there this two-tier justice system? You had people having their bank accounts frozen, being charged with the Freedom Convoy, and you don't have that at all with protests that have been occurring on the streets for over a year now. Why is that? Why is our government so weak that they are so afraid of being called an ist or phobe that they won't do anything about it? Or is it possibly, and of course, this is a conspiracy, this isn't fact, this is speculation, that those people were imported into the country because a lot of them wanted to come here. They were not vetted properly. And the reason why our government isn't doing anything to stop the hate that they are spewing, things that go right against our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and also just what the country stands for or used to stand for, because now those people are a part of his voter base. And why would you get rid of them when you are so unbelievably far behind the opposition and you're a narcissist and you don't want to admit failure or defeat and you want to remain in power?
The security currently in place at the Canadian border, we believe that there is a circumstance where we can make additional investments to reassure Canadians that all of the measures necessary are in place and will continue to be in place. And finally, we spoke about additional measures, additional investments that we can make in supporting the work of the RCMP, of Canadian Border Services Agency.
Donald Trump posted this morning, "I just had a very productive meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, where we discussed many important topics that will require both countries to work together to address, like the fentanyl and drug crisis that has decimated so many lives as a result of illegal immigration, fair trade deals that do not jeopardize American workers, and the massive trade deficit the U.S. has with Canada. I made it very clear that the United States will no longer sit idly by as our citizens become victims to the scourge of this drug epidemic caused mainly by the drug cartels and fentanyl pouring in from China. Too much death and hardship. Prime Minister Trudeau has made a commitment to work with us to end this terrible devastation of U.S. families. We also spoke about many other important topics like energy, trade, and the Arctic. All are vital issues that I will be addressing on my first days back in office and before. It really does appear that the plan with mass immigration had nothing to do at all with helping people. It was poised in we're so compassionate and nice way, which is something evil people will do, because evil does not infiltrate you in a way that is scary, that you don't want, because evil would never win. If it was, you would reject it. When you add more people in, you are changing the actual statistics of your country. And by adding in more consumers and more low-wage workers, you are putting a mask on the actual economic decline. And the fact that Canada, which was once a very safe, kind, and friendly country, now has more encounters with people on these watch lists than the southern border, which was previously the number one go-to if you were trying to infiltrate the U.S. because it was so easy to get across. And it still is significantly easier than it is in Canada to get across. That is deeply, deeply concerning, that there's people coming in on planes to our country, because that's how you get here, that are making it in, getting citizenship, getting visas, when they are on these lists. They are going completely unchecked. Diversity is not our strength in these situations. It will be our downfall when you have such lazy and weak measures. And all for what? To increase the instability of your country, to ruin your partnerships with other nations that you need, to create a housing crisis. Due to having, DEI diversity hires, now Canadian citizens, anybody who's white, has 10 times harder of a time to find a job, even though this is their home. And worse, according to the Fraser Institute, Canada's population-adjusted rates of violent and property crime now exceed those of the United States. And let's think about that as well, with how many people are in the United States in comparison to our country. Violent crimes in Canada rose by 43.8% between 2014 and 2022, 14% higher than the US. Property crimes grew by 7%, which means that Canada has a 27% higher rate than the US does. Human trafficking incidents have tripled. Canada's homicide rate has climbed by 53.4%, all during that same period. Catch and release policies have been one of the worst things that we've ever seen in this country. There's no logic to them at all. It's actually just horrible. On top of having pretty much no process whatsoever to keep bad people out of our country, because Trudeau wants to just have them in. Why does he want to just have them in? Why? Think about that. I already kind of gave you my hypothesis a little bit earlier.
Sources tell CTV News that the biggest takeaway here is that government officials, government representatives that were there last night, part of this dinner, were told by the Trump team that tariffs are going to be unavoidable in the short term. The big focus here, of course, is this threat of 25% tariffs that Donald Trump has proposed if Canada doesn't handle the border issue the way that Trump would like to see it handled and take care of issues when it comes to immigration at the border. Certainly, there is an effort by the Prime Minister and the Canadian team to try and put its best foot forward, to try and get ahead of things here as they face some pressure, here at home as well. We know that premiers from across the country have called on the Prime Minister to act on the border. They've called a meeting for next week. They want to hear what the Prime Minister's plan is to address the border concerns, to appease President Trump, to hopefully avoid those tariffs. Premier Doug Ford put a statement out today saying that he was pleased to see the Prime Minister meet with Donald Trump, but he wants to see the Prime Minister present a plan to avoid those tariffs.
I'm Jasmine Lane. Thank you for watching Over Opinionated. Share this with anybody who needs a little bit of a wake-up wake-up call. Also, like the video, comment your thoughts down below, and if you haven't already, subscribing to the channel will help YouTube show it to more and more people. So hopefully the truth will set many more of us free.